Not only is alternative gift wrap a great way to be more eco-conscious and reduce waste during holidays and celebrations, it's also way easier, far cheaper, and I think a whole lot more fun. If you are looking to opt out of gift wrap, there are so many great options to choose from. These first ones are all fabric, which are personally my favorite, but there are also really great non-fabric alternatives, which I will talk about later in the video, or you can use the timestamps below. And if you love the idea of some of these fabric wraps, but you don't have a sewing machine or you don't sew yourself, I have some thoughts on that too, which I will share in a moment. This first one is my favorite fabric gift wrap. It is simply a bag. And in the middle of that bag, I sew a ribbon. So when I'm wrapping a gift, all I have to do is the ribbon's already there. I don't have to go in search of it. And I just tie the ribbon around the top of the bag, and it just makes this darling little easy bag. These are so easy to make because you are just putting fabric right sides together, sewing around 3 sides. And then the ribbon at the top is totally optional. I just like it because then I don't have to search for a ribbon or even think about it when I'm wrapping a gift. I do also fold down the tops. So I do a little stitch there, but you could also just use pinking shears across the top. I do like that there's an option to wash fabric gift bags if you need to. I don't really see much of a need to. So I have made various sizes of these and with different fabrics. So fabrics for the holiday season, but also fabrics for birthdays or special occasions. And we just have a stash of these bags that we use within our household. These make it super easy to wrap presents. It's so wonderful when it's cleanup time because it's so simple. It does not look like a mess, and I do not carry that eco guilt of all that wrapping paper everywhere. And they are so easy to store. I think about the bulkiness of storing those big rolls of wrapping paper and the little bits and pieces left over of wrapping paper. And these are just so compact to store. I love it so much. And if you choose not to put a ribbon permanently on the bag or sew that ribbon down the middle top of the bag, you can just use any sort of ribbon to tie these up at the top. If you're going for super eco-conscious, you could use t-shirt yarn at the top, which is a great option, and you can get super fun colors with that. I've also upcycled tights to tie around the tops of these bags. So if you have an old pair of tights from a dancer or from wherever, you can just cut them into strips, and they make these wonderful sort of rubber bands that you can just use to wrap around the top of one of these bags. Sometimes I do get fancy and make a drawstring bag. Those are actually my absolute favorite, but I always doubt myself when I'm making these drawstring bags. It's a little more complex than just sewing that ribbon partway down the middle of the bag. So I have made a few of these and I love doing it. I think it's a lot more fun, but again, I'm a little intimidated by that. So just to kind of get our stash of bags going, I did not do that for every single bag. Another kind of fabric bag that I like to use are these fold over bags. You just stick the gift in the center and then you fold the top over. I use these kind of fold over bags for so many things in our lives, not just for gift wrap. I have a video about them if you're interested. They look kind of complex, but they're actually pretty easy to make. I think it's the first thing I ever learned to sew. Sometimes with these, once the gift is in there, I will just sort of like put a ribbon around the middle of the outside, or sometimes I just gather it at the top like I would with the other bags and put a ribbon around the top. Or you could just have it in the bag as is too. That definitely works. So that is a pretty fun option. I've kind of been showing some of my holiday fabrics just because that's what I have out right now. But obviously these are great for any time of year. And so I have sort of our fabric stash of holiday ones and then our fabric stash of just sort of our everyday throughout the year ones that we use as well. And then the third kind of fabric gift wrap that I like to use are just making t-shirt bags, which I have a video on that as well, but the concept is very simple. Basically, if you have a t-shirt that you love that you cannot donate it because it's damaged or it's sentimental to you, it's super easy to just convert it into a bag. And I use t-shirt bags when I go out shopping or if we're bringing a bunch of coats in the car or things like that. I use them all the time, but they can be really fun as gift bags too. I think it's especially fun and easy to use these ones to gift to people outside the family because it's like a little present in and of itself, which honestly, I think any of these fabric gift bags are like a little bonus present. I don't know if other people see it that way when I give them a gift in fabric wrap, but I see it that way. So on my video about t-shirt bags, I showed that there are different things you can do with it, not just the typical t-shirt bag. Sometimes I have left the sleeves on the bag and just sew the bottom of the shirt. So then you have sort of a bag, but you can use the sleeves as a bow at the top. And sometimes I sew up the armholes, so it kind of does create like this full bag look. Instead of the bag with handles, you just kind of have a little gift bag. I know that there is also an art of wrapping with just a piece of fabric, whether that's a scarf or a square of fabric, and I have seen people make beautifully wrapped gifts with these. I am not an expert on that, so I am not going to attempt to show that, but I have received things in just those nice decorative squares of fabric, like this one. So that's really pretty. In the past, I have, with squares of fabric, just sort of put the gift in the middle and then kind of wrapped both ends like a candy wrapper, and then just kind of put one of those little tights hairband type things on each end. So that's about as fancy as I get if I just have a piece of fabric and not a bag. But again, it might be something that you are really good at or you can watch a tutorial on. That is a nice option for fabric wrap as well. And if you love the idea of fabric bags, but you don't have a machine, I think that a lot of people who have sewing machines don't really use them every single day or every single week or even. So I think it's worth reaching out and seeing if you can borrow a machine and just make a bunch of these at once. I know our local library actually checks out sewing machines as part of their system, so that's an option too. If you like the idea of these but you don't actually sew, a lot of people sell these gift bags now. So you can buy them at shops, and most of these places are very eco-conscious. They have sustainable business practices, which is great. Sometimes it means these are a little more expensive and it's hard to get, a big stash of them for some people. But I've also seen people selling these at craft fairs, or you might be able to find them on some sort of sales or clearance especially after a holiday season. But I also know if you keep your eyes peeled for this kind of thing, I see fabric gift bags that just kind of appear in random places. Like when we get a new set of sheets, they're usually in this cute little bag. So if you just kind of keep your eyes out, I think you will be able to accumulate these. Thrift shops or garage sales are also a great place to look for things like these. I think the other thing to keep in mind, for me at least, was that when I wanted to start using fabric gift wrap, I wanted to go all in. I wanted to only use fabric gift wrap, and I had to just be patient with it and realize that we needed to slowly build up our collection. So I think it's okay to have just 1 or 2 bags in the beginning, along with whatever you're using, and just slowly work into transitioning over to using fabric gift wrap. Now it's exclusively what we use, and I love it. I love not dealing with wrapping paper and buying tape and all of that stuff, especially around big celebrations or holidays. We just have it on hand. I don't even think about that. And like I said, I love not seeing piles and piles of wrapping paper after a big holiday or celebration, because that just kind of hurts my ego heart to see all of that. So to just have this and have it be so easy to store and so easy to clean up is so lovely. But all that being said, Sometimes, of course, we are gifting to people outside of our household. Sometimes I do go all out and make fabric gift bags for gifting outside of our household, and hopefully people appreciate those or enjoy them. I don't really know, but sometimes that's just a lot on top of everything else that's going on. But there are so many other great alternatives to gift wrap. The easiest thing to do is to just use upcycled paper products. So old magazines or catalogs, maybe pages from damaged books or old maps, things like that. You might have to tape some together to make the surface big enough for the gift. But I love these because you're upcycling. It usually looks really good. In fact, I keep a stash of these kind of pages just for this purpose because there are sometimes certain catalog pages or magazine pages that are just so perfect for wrapping a gift. So I like to just have these on hand. And then hopefully your recipient will, recycle that paper, which would be great. And I think it also just kind of puts it in our heads that there are other ways to wrap gifts that don't have to be the wrapping paper that goes through that whole production process and transportation process just to wrap a gift and then have it immediately thrown away or recycled. It can also be really fun to put a little homemade paper gift bow, especially on these ones from the upcycled papers. And I do have a video about that one too. I guess I'm a little bit obsessed with this topic. And then you can take that idea of using upcycled pages and you can cut them into specific shapes as well. So I do have a video about this one as well, but you can make paper stockings. This is just with an upcycled grocery bag back in the day when they made you take grocery bags in 2020. But you could also make other shapes for different times of the year, or even just kind of cut out a general square or rectangle and have little stitching around the edges. And another fun option is using upcycled food boxes like cereal boxes to make little gift bags. I will link to my tutorial about that as well. The only thing with these ones I've noticed is that it's kind of hard to store them if you want to reuse them. So I really like the idea that you're upcycling and it's a really cute gift bag. But if you or your recipient is planning on storing it for reusing it, that can just be a little trickier. It's definitely doable, but ours have not always survived. But then again, they can just be recycled like they would have been. And finally, I love the idea of upcycling decorative tins and using those as gift wrap. So there are tins for sale usually, especially around the holidays, but you can also find tins when you're buying tea or cookies or things like that. Sometimes they come in a tin, and I think that these are so sweet for wrapping gifts in. I love having some tins scattered about if we have a group of presents out. This one is one of our favorites. It was my in-laws, and it's just a cookie tin, but it has a little music box on the top. Should not have wound it so much. That's one we like to use. I also picked up this little train, which is so adorable. This was just from a secondhand store. I love it because you can find things like this at secondhand stores and garage sales for crazy cheap. I mean, I usually just do a check inside first and see how the inside looks and make sure it smells okay, but these are so great. I couldn't pass up this snowman, which is sort of a multi-tiered gift, which is so fun. And then a couple years ago, my mom gifted me something in, I think this was an upcycled container for those little wafer cookies that are so good. And so I think she just wrapped a piece of paper around it, and it is adorable. I love it. And then, of course, sometimes certain gift boxes are just very sturdy and reusable. So any kind of container like that is a little bit more bulky to store, but I like just having a few of them on hand because I think they're a lot of fun. As much as I love our fabric gift wrap, I think it's fun to just have little other things scattered about too. And of course, there are so many other options than what I've talked about here so far. If you are part of a school or a club or organization that does a gift wrap fundraiser, maybe you could suggest the group consider alternatives. So I think it would be so fun for a group to learn how to sew some simple gift bags or make those cereal box gift bags or the little paper stockings. I think that those would be a huge hit with people and still raise money while also being a little more eco-conscious. Just a thought. So I know that you will have your own great ideas and twists on some of these ideas, and I would love to hear about some of your favorite gift wrap alternatives. Thank you, as always, for being here. Your actions can and will make a difference.